Hello, this is a video about the iterator design pattern. So here's the definition of it. So the iterator allows you to access elements sequentially from a collection without actually exposing what's going on underneath. So here's the UML. In this UML, the iterator and aggregate are both shown as abstract classes, but you can also do them as interfaces. So the aggregate contains one method called createIterator, and it returns an, a concrete iterator that we are actually wanting to use. So let's say your main class is calling this concrete aggregate that, hey, give me an iterator, and it just passes the iterator through. You don't actually take the iterator here and save it or use it later or anything. You just create new and throw it out. The iterator contains multiple methods. So first, what's the first element? Is there next? What's the next element? Is the iterating done already? And what's the current item? And then we have this concrete iterator that is implementing this. So why should we use iterators? If you think when you're using collections and you have, for example, an array and a stack, do you want to separately implement those, or do you just want to use same methods similarly without hassling? So we are just abstracting everything out, and let's say we have just next and has next methods, and we are just, as a user, saying to our software or program that, hey, give me the next element. Are we done yet? No, give me the next element, and so forth. So you can change the implementation without actually changing anything outside collections. It's very useful. So let's take an example on how this iterator thing works. So let's create a new project. First up the UML. And a new class diagram. So let's take that stack and array logic here. So let's first create an interface called Iterator, as was done in the definition. Then let's create another interface that is called reader. So the reader is working as the aggregate here. So here we had only one method, create iterator. And of course we're not returning a void, but an iterator. So the data type comes from this interface. So what our iterator then contains? First of all, we need the next method. So what's the next element coming from this collection? Since we don't know the data type, we can just say it's an object. Object in Java is the base class of everything, so everything has a type of object, so it's safe. And we call a method next. And then we also need a method to check if there is more to come. So if there is another element coming, so has next. And the return type here is true or false, so Boolean. Then let's implement these two interfaces. So as I said, we have an array. So we have an array iterator. And then we have a stack. So stack iterator. And let's implement these two. stack iterator and iterator. And of course we need to take these methods here. There. So that's basically this iterator part. But yes, of course, when we are iterating through something, we need to know the collection we are going through. So our array iterator should contain the array we want to go through. And in this example, I'm using a string array called stuff because there's stuff in it. And of course, when we're going through something, we also need the integer to tell us where we are going. So I'm using an integer called position. And usually with the iterators, you already have the collection. So you just pass the collection to the iterator. But just to keep it simple, I'm creating a constructor here that will initialize my collection. So same thing here. No need for parameters. Then we also want to have a reader that can read through the array with a big R, and the same with the stack. So we are just taking the methods from the reader interface and also adding this implements arrow. There. Let's move them around a bit. Yeah, so let's make it this way. There. So now the thing is that my array reader has to know about my array iterator in order to return it. So we're using this use arrow to indicate that our array reader knows about this array iterator. And we can have multiple readers, sure. And we can have multiple iterators, but not necessarily even one. However, is it logical that we have multiple different readers returning the same stuff? So we can just make that one-to-one and then zero-to-many there, and the same thing with the stacks. Zero-to-many, stack iterator, done. There. Then what we still need is a main class. So of course the main class is using the readers and the iterators both. So just to make it simple, we can define that our main class is using iterators, multiple ones, and readers. There, and multiple ones as well. So what our main class needs is the main method that takes arguments from the command line again, and it has to be static. And for this example, I'm adding a print method that takes iterator as a parameter. And I'm also going to use it inside the main class only, so I'm making it static. So here we go. Now let's implement this in Java. No main class. And just generate the code from this UML. And here we go. So first up, let's take these iterators that we are going to. And for some reasons, I forgot to add these methods, variables. So the stack iterator has to contain the stack as well as the position. There, and regenerate. And now we have some problems here. So we are just missing a library. And now because I added this late, they are here at the end. So I'm moving them back up. There. So as I said, I will initialize the collections here in the constructors. So with the stack iterator, we want to initialize the position as 0. We create a new stack and we create multiple elements for the stack. So 5 strings. Then when we are creating this next method, we want to return something. So from the stack, we take an element at a certain position. So element at this position. And of course, we want to jump to the next position as well. So we are adding incrementation there. So after we have returned this element, the pos will be incremented by 1. And then we have this hasNext method. And we are checking that if the stack size, stack.size, is the same as the position where we are currently at. So if this is true, then we're at the end of our stack. So then we are saying that no, there is nothing else. But if this is not true, then we're returning true. And this is the stack iterator completely. Then we jump to the array iterator. So the same thing, basically. First up, initializing again. It's a little bit different than the stack, but not that much. So we again initialize the position. We create a new array with 5 elements and it contains strings. And then we just put the strings there and leave it at that. So now we can implement this next method. So we are returning something again. So now we take the array of stuff and return the element at the pos position. And similarly to the stack, let's increment it by 1 after the return has been done. And hasNext is basically the same. The structure is the same, but the words are different. So we have stuff.length that we are looking about. So with the stack, there was size. With array, there's length. And we're checking if this is the same as pos. If it is, we're at the end of our array. We're returning false, else we are returning true. So now we have our iterators done. Then we have the readers. And there was only this create iterator method. So the array reader wants to return a new array iterator. And that's that. And the stack iterator returns a new stack iterator. Stack reader, sorry, returns a new stack iterator. So now we have everything implemented, and we can jump to the main class and actually do something with this. So first up, I'm gonna implement this print method. So what it basically has is that it takes an iterator and prints out what the iterator is saying. So we take the while loop, and while the iterator has something, we are printing what it has. So printing the next. So in this situation, we are very glad that there is strings inside it only. So the iterator is going through strings instead of objects, like very complex objects. So that's our print. So it's basically like shouting out stuff. So now I need my readers. I'm naming my stack guy Bob, and then I'm naming my array iterator as Anna. And I accidentally did a mistake. So of course this has to be reader. There. Then I want to take an iterator, and I'm getting it by saying to Bob, hey, give me an iterator. I want to use it. So then we're going into the print method, and I just pass the iterator there, and the iterator is being printed out, or the collection is being printed out via the iterator. And then I want from Anna the same thing. Hey Anna, give me an iterator. Hey, let me print it. And I'm pretty much done. So instead of creating two different collections, I'm doing a main class where I just shout out to a reader that, hey, give me stuff, and then I just print it. Instead of doing two separate things, as you remember. So first doing a loop with these methods, and then doing a loop with these methods. Basically the same. The structure is very, very similar, but the words are different, so we can do the same things. So let's see. And it works. So first Bob, never gonna give you up, and then Anna goes, never gonna let you down. And that's the art of iterators.